Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Off the Reins podcast. My name is Ryan Messer, and wow, we are here. It is playoff time, guys. The regular season is gone, and week 10 was nothing more than just a preview of we're going to see here in the next couple weeks. So it was a lot of fun this season. I can't believe it's already here. It's already been gone. Seems like just yesterday we were getting ready for camp. So it's insane. But guys, we've got a lot to get into. We've got to cover the Birmingham Sports Update, Birmingham Sports Brief, the uh, the game from Saturday with the Stallions. We got to cover the rest of the games because this weekend was loaded. And then we're going to give you a couple updates of some upcoming news. And before we go into it any further, I want to make sure you guys are following us on all of our social handles. Make sure you like and share. If you really like this, actually, I'm going to ask you guys to hit the angry button. If you really like this podcast and are watching it, hit the angry button. That will help the algorithms. I won't take offense to it. We won't take offense to it, but the algorithms would love it. So if you could just hit that angry button, if you're really watching this and enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit that angry button for me. I know it's a strange ask, but I'm just asking you to do that, please. Another thing, if you, especially that's on Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on YouTube or the podcatchers, whatever, listening to us on the podcatchers, just keep on watching. That's the best thing you can do. Share it with your friends and family if they like the podcast, if they like the Stallions, whatever. And then we're also gonna make sure you guys are following us on Shotgun Sports Alabama because we have the Forge podcast coming up in a month. It's less than a month now. It's insane. So we've got some great guests coming up. As you guys saw, the first guest is going to be the one, the only Rick Carley. We also have a couple more notable names that we're going to have on the podcast. We're going to wind up having athletes, interviews, and stuff like that. So make sure you guys are following us on all those social handles so you guys don't miss anything. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and jump right on into the Birmingham Sports Brief. Jumping right on into it with MILB with the Birmingham Barons, who took on the Rocket City Trash Pandas this weekend. Unfortunately, we wound up losing the series, but it was only by one game. We won on Tuesday and then lost both games of the doubleheader on Wednesday. However, we walked off on Thursday after a great, amazing comeback win on that one. I was ecstatic to see that. And then we wound up having a shutout on Friday to celebrate the Friday night fireworks. So that's always a fun time. Make sure you guys take the kids out, see the fireworks on Fridays and Saturdays. And then we lost both Saturday and Sunday. So they wound up tying us on Saturday, and then they wound up winning the series on Sunday. However, we are still number one in the league, in the Southern League and the Southern League North, which is most important. So just make sure you guys get out there, cheer on the Barons, show your support, guys. But I've got to say, I've got to hand it to the Rocket City Trash Pandas. I don't know if you guys have been following the whole Birmingham Southern College debacle, where Birmingham Southern College wound up closing their doors for the last time on uh, May the 31st. Well, their team actually played baseball after the school had already closed. It was national headlines. It was all over the place. So, um, but before they went out to the College World Series, the Division III College World Series, the Rocket City Trash Pandas wound up having a little small exhibition game with them to get them prepared and warmed up because it's been so long since they played baseball that they needed to get warmed up and get freshened up for the College World Series. Well, that game wound up being where Birmingham Southern College wound up winning that game. So that's pretty. I'm sure it wasn't. They weren't having their aces out there pitching and stuff like that. But still, it's pretty cool to see that uh, they were able to do that, and they actually wound up winning one game and then lost, but they did wind up losing in the next game. But it's still a pretty good story, pretty really cool story that took place, and we're stoked that Rocket City did that for those guys. But if you live in Huntsville, make sure you go out to Toyota Field. And if you're here in Birmingham, make sure that you go out to check out the Barons at Regents Field. So, um, switching over to the Birmingham Legion of the USL. They actually wound up going over to El Paso over in Texas to take on the El Paso Locomotive, where they wound up putting on a strong offensive performance. We're really surprised to see how well they've done in that, but they wound up pulling off a 3-1 win in full time. And they are going to wind up facing number 5 in the they are number 5 in the Eastern Conference right now of the USL Championship Series. So, and they will be taking on number 3 this Sunday at 6 o'clock at Protective Stadium. So make sure you guys get out there and support the Legion as they take on the number 3 team in the East, the Indy 11. It's going to be superhero night, so make sure you guys get out there and your favorite costume, whether it be Marvel, DC, whatever. The best dress, the best costume is going to get a seat upgrade. So I'm not sure, they didn't disclose what exactly the seat upgrade would be, but I do know that they have the new field seating on the field where you can actually sit on the field. So that's really cool. They have that as well. We're stoked to be there because we're gonna this is gonna be the first game we're actually able to cover as Shotgun Sports. So I've been to a couple games in the past couple years, but we are actually able to cover the Birmingham Legion now. So we will be there. We will be getting coverage for you guys on the Birmingham Legion coming up. Something else we're stoked for is our next shipment from Blue Spring Living Water. Guys, there's been a lot of issues with the municipal water systems throughout the country. One thing you can count on is Blue Spring Living Water. It's naturally sourced, naturally minerally enriched water that's sourced right here in the state of Alabama, right up the road in Blount County. So it's something you don't even have to worry about. So make sure you take a step toward a healthier life with Blue Spring Living Water. Switching over to the Birmingham Stallions, where they wound up taking on a really great Michigan Panthers team, who, if you had asked me who we would be facing in the USFL Championship, would not be the Michigan Panthers. Compared to last season and what I thought that they had pulled from the dispersal draft, I really did not expect them to be as good as they are. This team is all around stacked as well, just like the Birmingham Stallions are. They've been moving around quarterbacks, so it's really great to see that they've actually turned their business around. Um, but we had some issues. We started out, it was a rough first half, especially. Um, Beginning to think whether they were actually holding back a bit because Adrian Martinez did not run near as much as he usually does. I don't know if that's a thing where Coach Holtz had asked him not to run as much, but I did see him kind of coaching him up about reads and stuff like that uh, on times that he was sacked and stuff like that, coming off on third down, a 3 and out and stuff like that situation. And he didn't say anything about scrambling. So I'm beginning to wonder whether Coach Holtz actually asked him not to run as much in this game to kind of prevent any kind of injury or strain anything before this weekend and potentially next weekend if we get that far. Um, but we didn't have Ricky Person, we didn't have JoJo Tillery, and we didn't have DeMarcus Gates. They were all inactive. Don't see anything injury wise with these guys. I know a lot of people are speculating about injuries, but I'm really thinking that I know Coach Holtz said something about them being something about not them not having being ready to play. But it was a really reserved first quarter overall for the Birmingham Stallions. And Coach Holtz actually mentioned in the post game about plays that he was holding back because he didn't think these guys were ready and didn't want to put the ball in danger.
Defensively, when things aren't going well, you go back to basics. When things we call it offensively, we call it name and number. When things aren't going well, don't get exotic. You don't need a lot of motions and trying to call the perfect play. And that guy's there, and that guy. Just day one install stuff, name and number, be simple. That was kind of the mindset defensively. Like, you know what, we got out of our gaps. We got cut off on this one. We didn't do what we were supposed to do here. And I give them credit. Like we said, it's playoff football. It's two good football teams. Both teams are going to make some plays. But we just went back. We went back to a couple calls that to take advantage of where they were hurting us, kind of putting our fingers in the dam, and then just tried to be really simple with what we did. We didn't want to we don't want to overcomplicate it. You weren't going to win or lose this football game because of a great call. You're going to lose it because you could execute the calls you made. And, like we came into this game and, there was a bunch of plays we never got to. But there are things that over the last couple of weeks we've been trying to polish them up and get ready that I would have loved to call, but I didn't feel like we were executing at a level that all of a sudden you run one of these plays that isn't a day one install, that these guys aren't like this on, and all of a sudden there's a little hesitation, there's a turnover, there's a ball put in danger or something like that. And so same thing with the defense.
And with that, it's the second quarter after that, it was a defensive adjustment all around, and that's what made the difference. And that was a turning point in the game when they made those defensive adjustments. That front seven just can't be beat. But they wound up getting to the quarterback, putting pressure on the quarterback, and making make it really tough to thread the needle for the quarterback. But then, of course, we all know it wound up ending up with a Jake Bates missed field goal. But another topic is the entire game, the past couple games, this team has not seemed like the same team that we've been seeing all season. For the first half of the season. And I'm not sure why, but Jay Sternberger kind of mentioned something about how there was something mentally that they were just not getting in the game like they should have. Check it out.
Yeah, like you piggybacking what you were saying on the past 2 weeks as a team, it's been difficult for us for morale because you have so much success going on, dating all the way back to last year, and then things are rolling. We're getting calls. I mean, I don't think we've lost a challenge all year, and it was just weird things that have been happening, and so you got to go back to where we started in fall camp or spring camp, I guess. The principles that we laid out from day one, where when things aren't going our way, and we're all a watered down product of what we were doing, it's going to fall back on what we set in stone in spring of what our demands are, how we move as a football team, and just how we take on adversity. And so it's been, like I said, for other teams, this might be a great record and how everything is going, but the past 2 weeks have been tough on us, and it's been a real grind mentally, and it's something that I'm so proud of our team, how we overcame it today, because we didn't flinch. Things were not going our way. It looked ugly. I said at halftime, we're way too nonchalant, but that's growing pains, and regardless of how successful we've been, it's at the end of the day, we still haven't played good football, our perfect football game, and that's what we're striving for. And so moving forward, I'm so ready to get back to work on Tuesday, because I know Saturday's going to be a show.
But regardless of how well they did, but it's still that mental. You got to be mentally tough. I hate to sound like Coach Saban, but he always preached mental toughness, and that being one of the factors that made a difference in a football game. And like Jay said in that post game, you've got to be mentally tough and make sure that you're in the right headspace when you're in the game. But overall, they did look a lot more disciplined than what they did as far as the past couple games, as far as the crazy personal foul penalties and the unsportsmanlike stuff like that. That was really cleaned up a lot from the previous couple weeks, so I was glad to see that. Talking about some of the other games that we saw this weekend, the St. Louis San Antonio game. That was an insane game, a really good competitive game. It went back and forth, but the problem was AJ did not look like himself. Coming off that injury, he did not look like the AJ that we saw the entire season long. But it wound up being another field goal to make that game being decided on another field goal. Sorry. And it was another 1 point deciding factor game. But with that game, St. Louis did win home field. So this week they will be taking on the San Antonio Brahmas will be taking on St. Louis at the Dome there at the America Center in St. Louis. So I think that's going to be a really great game. We'll talk about that in a little bit, what I think is going to happen there. But switching over to the DC and Arlington game, that was another really good game, which was decided by 1 point. And this just shows that this league was really competitive, and that DC almost beat Birmingham. And the fact that Arlington did beat DC, and they wound up, it's just crazy how strong this league as a whole really is. And I think, I know for a fact, there's NFL scouts that are just sitting here waiting on the rest of the season to be done so that they can start grabbing folks up. But I know we found out a few other things we'll talk about here in a minute. But the Memphis and Houston game, everybody called it the toilet bowl or the battle of the bottom feeders or whatever. It was another competitive game. Houston, who I believe lost every game by one score, that they competed in every single game and lost it there in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. It was just a straight up uh, dog fight with these guys. And for Memphis, I was surprised because this was one of the most complete and competitive performances I've seen them play this season. So I got to give it up for the Showboats. With that, they wound up winning the first round of or the first pick in the draft, which will be a first pick in every single round of the draft. So when we get to the draft and all of that, it's gonna be fun to see who all they get and and see if they can build on what they had this season, because they there's some things that they need to, especially on that offensive line. I think quarterback, they're decent, but they need some help on that offensive line because they would not hold for anything. Coming up this weekend, we have championship weekend. Got the USFL championship conference championship game here in Birmingham at Protective Stadium. So make sure you guys get out there. It's supposed to be a really pretty day. Clear skies, maybe some partly cloudy. That's what I'm hearing. And then low 80s as a high. So, I mean, that's warm, but that's not hot. Everybody's saying, oh, they need to schedule it for the nightcap or a primetime game. But, guys, you can't get any better than low 80s in Alabama, clear skies. We had wet weather last week. It wasn't as bad as predicted, but there were a few showers. We got a couple sprinkles there throughout the game, and there was a big line that came through before the gates opened there at Protective Stadium this past weekend. But this is supposed to be a really nice game. I mean, really nice weather. So make sure we pack out Protective because we're hoping to see everybody come back. We're hoping to see JoJo come back. I'm hoping to see DeMarcus Gates come back. We're going to update you guys with all of that. As soon as we hear it, we're going to post it on the Stallion Stampede and on the Shotgun Sports Alabama pages as well. XFL side, it's going to be in St. Louis as they take on the San Antonio Brahmas. My thoughts on this game, I think it's going to... Honestly, the way that they played this week, I don't know. It could go either way. I believe that the Brahmas team is really good, but I believe they're hurt. Same thing with St. Louis. But overall, I think that San Antonio may edge over it. I do think that the home field advantage is only going to go so far, but we'll have to see this Sunday who wins it. And then either team's going to be a tough opponent if we beat Michigan this week and make it to the UFL playoff championship game. But we did hear that recently. We did hear that Reins Ahmed was signed by the Washington Commanders. So that's the first one I've heard so far that's been actually signed by a team that's been on a UFL roster so far this year. But it's going to be, I hope he gets, through the camp and all of that and actually gets on the big roster. So it'd be amazing to see Ramiz Ahmed kicking out there with the likes of Brandon Aubrey. But hopefully he'll get. I wish him the best of luck. He's a really good guy, really good kicker. So overall, we need you guys out there Saturday at Protective Stadium. You guys got to be there to support the Stallions and give them a home field advantage. We have to. We need to win. It's a win or go home. So if we don't win, we're just gonna have to go home. But hopefully we can get the win and head to St. Louis. I will be out there at St. Louis regardless to cover it for you guys. So hope to see you guys out there Saturday. If you see me, give me a shout out, whatever. But hey, good luck and giddy up.